Hi everyone, we're doing 5.1, which is dividing polynomials. This is the last section from this chapter, and I think you'll find it to be fairly straightforward. It sort of follows the same pattern as what we've been using for multiplying polynomials and adding and subtracting. So let's dive right in with some examples. Let's say we have 15x squared plus 12x plus 9, and the whole thing is being divided by 3. We want to simplify this. So the first thing I want to show you is that we are allowed to rewrite this as 15x squared over 3 plus 12x over 3 plus 9 over 3. So you're allowed to rewrite a fraction as long as you keep the denominator under each term. So we're basically separating the terms of the trinomial that's at the top of this fraction, of this big complex fraction. So then we can deal with them separately. So one way of doing this is why I love this thing, is we could just ignore all the rest of it and pretend this is the only question we have. If we did 15x squared over 3, so if this is the one that we're working with, I'll color code it. Well, 15 divided by 3 is just 5. And then the x squared is still there. So then to put it into perspective, I'll bring back the second term that was there. If you take this smaller step-by-step approach, it makes it so that this is not, it doesn't feel as difficult. But sometimes if you look at the whole thing all at once, that does appear very difficult. So for this next thing, 12x divided by 3, well, 12 divided by 3 is 4x. And then I finally bring back the last term, which is this one, and we already know 9 divided by 3 is simply the number 3. So after going through it, it just simplifies to this. So we've gone, so to go back and look at the bigger picture, we go back to the original and we can see that basically we're just separating each of the terms in order to simplify. Also, I checked to see and noticed that the answer is written in descending order, which is correct. So that's how I would want to leave it. And so it's looking pretty good. Okay, let's look at a variation of this. 12m squared minus 8m plus 16, but this time the whole thing is divided by a negative. So it's divided by negative 4. And I'd like to take a similar approach again. First step, and this is what I really want to encourage you to do. I know you can probably spit out the answer by looking at it and going really fast, and that's the pattern I've noticed many of you doing. This is a time to slow things down. So I want you to go slow, and I want you to pay attention to the steps and the process along the way. When you get to Math 10, Math 11, Math 12, and onwards, it's the steps along the way that's going to help you to understand the harder stuff that's coming up. So I really want you to pay attention to the details and not be so obsessed with what the end result is. That's all very ego-based, and we're trying to get rid of that because that doesn't help you with things that are going to be coming up. Here's the part I really want to stress here. I taught you this in the last lesson. The sign to the left of the term stays with that term. So here I'm going to have minus 8m, and that's going to be over minus 4. And then I have plus 16, and that's going to be over minus 4. So it's helpful and useful to be able to look at it this way. So just like last time, if this feels overwhelming, like that's a lot of stuff to look at, well, we're going to ignore half of it, more than half of it, 2/3 of it, and we're just going to zoom in on this first part. So if I just gave you this tiny little section and asked you to divide this, I know you all can do that. We're just dealing with the numbers. We know it's going to be m squared because that's the only variable that's there. But if we look at this 12 divided by negative 4, we know the answer would just be negative 3. So it might look complicated or like there's lots of stuff going on, but if we take this simple step-by-step approach, it's actually quite easy. So minus 8m divided by minus 4, I'm going to use a similar sort of approach or idea in dealing with this. We know the m's going to be there, so I'm good with that. I'm just going to get rid of it. And then when all I need to worry about is what's negative 8 divided by negative 4, and we know that that's plus 2. Okay, so then we bring back the third term that we were ignoring, and this time we just have 16 divided by negative 4, so I know the answer is going to be negative, and I know 16 divided by 4 is 4. So after all that work, this is what the end result is, and I'm going to bring back all of it so you can see the big picture of everything that's gone on instead of just zooming in on the little part step by step. So I hope that this is helpful. Okay, so you saw just dividing by 3, then you saw when I brought in a negative. You know how this works. We always go step by step, and each time I bring in one new thing. So this time, let's take a look at something a little bit different. We have negative 15xy plus 25xy squared, and the whole thing is divided by 5x. Don't let this throw you off. We are still doing exactly the same thing, which is the first step is writing them separately. So negative 15xy over 5x plus 25xy squared over 5x. Okay, so just like in the last ones, I'm going to ignore half of it, pretend it's not happening, and I'm just going to focus on this part. But I'm going to separate even this. I'm going to deal with it step by step. So I look at this and think, okay, let's just deal with the coefficients. Negative 15 divided by 5, I know is negative 3. Then when I go to the variables, I'm going to look at these x's. If I have an x at the top and x at the bottom, that would be like saying 1 minus 1 for the exponent. So it's actually gone. It cancels out. And I just have this y left that's at the end. So all of that simplifies to negative 3y. Then I bring back the part that I was ignoring. So we like to temporarily live in denial, but then we do like to bring back all of it once we're ready for it. So take a small step-by-step approach. And then here, we're going to do a similar type of thing. We're going to deal with the 25 divided by 5. So it's a plus. There's no negatives to deal with. I know it's still going to be plus. And I know 25 divided by 5 is 5. So I've dealt with that part. I notice again there's an x at the top, x at the bottom, which means they just cancel. And I do still have a y squared at the end. Okay, so I did get this answer, but notice it's not in descending order. So I actually want to take them and rearrange the order. And I'm allowed to do this as long as I keep the sign to the left of the term with that term. So let me show you how that shows up. I just pull this 5y squared to the front. If it's a plus at the front, I don't need to write it. And then I take the minus 3y and put it second. So now it's in descending order, and I also like that I'm starting the first term as a positive instead of the negative, which we like to do. So that's a great way for us to write our end result. Okay, so I hope that you're finding this helpful so far. Let's take a look at another example. Let's say we have x to the negative 6x squared plus 9x. The whole thing is going to be over negative 3x and then minus 6 minus 4x all over 2. Okay, you had to know this was coming. This is a little bit harder because there's more stuff going on. I actually have 2 separate division questions happening, but it's not a big deal because we're going to apply the same step-by-step approach to this. So, to start off with, let's deal with this like this. We are going to deal with that part first. We're going to get rid of the second part, and we're just going to live in denial for a little bit until we're ready for that part. I could multiply and distribute this x into the question, but since it's a division question, we like to keep things simple and make it as easy for ourselves as we can. So a really nice first step is noticing that there's an x at the top and the bottom, and what's going on is multiplication and division. So I'm allowed to simply cancel those out, which makes my life so much easier because now I don't have to multiply and divide it all out. It's gone. So start by simplifying anything that you can first and cross it out and get rid of it top to bottom. And now we can deal with the rest of this. So as far as the rest of this goes, I can rewrite this to say negative 6x squared over negative 3, because that's all that's left there, plus 9x over negative 3. And then I do have this minus over there with other stuff going on, but we won't worry about that yet. When we continue to work with this, well, we know negative 6 divided by negative 3, so I'm just going to deal with the coefficients, is 2, and then I have that x squared. So this part is done. Similar approach here. If I'm doing plus 9 divided by negative 3, I get a minus 3 as my result, and the x there. So I'm done with that term. So I'm dealing with it step by step, aware of the fact that I'm living in denial and have ignored part of it, but no big deal because now I'm going to go back to that part. So for that part, there's nothing that I can cancel out top to bottom like I was able to here. So I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite this separately. 6 over 2 minus 4x over 2. And the other thing I want to point out is if this is minus, there's no brackets there, but we're treating it like it's brackets. Like this whole thing is being subtracted. So do put the brackets in because that's going to help you to keep things straight when we're dealing with this. So then we have a minus, and in brackets, 6 divided by 2 is 3. And here we have minus 4 over 2. Well, maybe I should do it this way. Minus 4 over 2 because the sign stays with it. So it's minus 2x. So that has allowed me to deal with both of those. Okay, so we're getting there, but we're not quite there yet. We do still have 2x squared minus 3x, but then I need to distribute this minus here. So I get minus 3, and I need to distribute this here. A minus times a minus is a plus 2x. And then I want to collect any like terms. So I still have 2x squared. That deals with this part. And then I have minus 3x plus 2x. Well, minus 3x plus 2x would leave us with minus x. Think of on a number line. And then at the end we have this minus 3 with nothing else to combine it with. I double check to see, is it in descending order? Yes, it is. Is there anything else I can combine or put together? No, there isn't. So that would be my end result. So I hope you found that helpful. I'm going to get you to do 1 to 3 and 10. And for all of them, you're only going to do the odd letters. And that should be good to get you prepared.